David, we had a lot of fun yesterday, and we were up on stage a lot, used a lot of words, and
yesterday was great. Yesterday we hosted our fourth annual LP Connect, where we had a ton of awesome brands, advertisers, partners in the building, and a lot of great information was shared. And one of the things that I want to talk about today on this podcast is sort of recapping some of the things that we learned, some of the questions that were answered, some of the questions that remain unanswered, and ultimately at the end of the day, figuring out ways to help make businesses more money.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there's a million things we can talk about. We can talk about some of the things that I think yesterday. There's a lot of conversations that I think yesterday started. The conversation about. I asked a question, and it was a question, specifically for that panel, but it was, what are the no-brainer costs that you can find right now that they add enough revenue to where it's like, if you're not doing it, you're missing out, and it might only be 1 or 2% incrementally that you get from it, but you're more than willing to pay for that. Our building was filled with them yesterday, and I think that's a good place to start. And I think that, Cart Convert's an obvious, easy example to where there's legitimately no risk there, right? And you can just add incremental revenue where you're going to get cart recoveries that you wouldn't have had otherwise, and you only pay when your cart's recovered, when they get that sale. And, I think that there's someone that I would like to have seen on stage. Maybe we can get them on there eventually.
Well, or we just have like a panel that is like our top add-ons of the last 12 months. Like, here's the businesses that we've seen our clients succeed with at scale. Like, we've seen enough clients using this. We're like, if you're not testing this on your site, like that's a problem. Yeah.
And I don't know if I remember if I said this or not, but Triple Whale is that too, where, I've had clients add Triple Whale and they recover their costs for the entire year within 6 weeks, because they're going to find, especially if they have like broken down GA4, something in GA4 is not working, they're losing tracking.
No, something in GA4 stopped working.
Well, and then typically these days we're seeing that because of they add like privacy opt-ins, right? And and there are ways around that with GA4 to fix it, but a lot of advertisers are afraid to fix it because they think by fixing it, they might be breaking the law, right? They're going to get sued if they fix it. And so they're looking for alternative solutions. And so, when that happens, we typically recommend Triple Whale. And then once they get Triple Whale, it's like, oh, I have so much more insight into what's going on within my website. And and it's really easy to change your attribution model, which I love. You can look at first click, you can look at last click, you can look at linear, you can look at the triple pixel, because we had that conversation on Wednesday with Aman, and I didn't even know he was on Triple Whale, and I was like, why are you so interested in flipping your media mix to more toward Google rather than and away from Meta, not moving away from Meta entirely, but making it so it's not 80% of your marketing budget? And he's like, oh, it's because of Triple Whale. It's because I added Triple Whale, and all of a sudden I saw that Google is performing so much better than I thought it was, or even than Google says it is, which can happen. Which is
rare.
It's rare. And, it's not common, but it can happen. We've seen it on a few different brands where Triple Whale actually shows that Google is performing better than it does in Google, and which is super ironic because I think in the early days, this isn't the case anymore. There was some fear at Google. Maybe not fear is not the right word, but some sort of maybe annoyance at Google of advertisers using Triple Whale instead of GA4. And I would tell them all the time, it's like, it's not a threat. Oftentimes, maybe not oftentimes, but you do see it where it gives more credit to Google than Google was already getting. And of course, it's going to give less credit to Meta, mostly because Meta, their own pixel and their own attribution is so forgiving of themselves. But so when people add, a third party source of truth, it's really impactful. I also think the other benefit of having that third party source of truth is there was always this question or this maybe conflict of interest that existed where Google Analytics always sort of felt that it was Google's grading its own homework, right? Mm-hmm. So my source of truth for all my channels, whether it's email, organic, Meta, Pinterest, you name it, that's being graded by Google, which personally, I don't think it was that big of a deal, but I had many conversations like, is this a concern or is this a problem? And so it was definitely on people's minds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that risk is always there. Yeah. You can't get away from that. But I think the fact that Google Analytics at this point is not a first-party data solution that helps solve for losing UTM parameters in iOS 26 or the Safari 26, that I can't emphasize enough that brands, Triple Whale is great, but they just need to be thinking about something that's beyond Shopify or BigCommerce or Miva, or whatever, name the platform, and GA4. It's just not going to be a feasible system for tracking and optimizing your business and growing it. Mm-hmm. And so that's probably something we should have pushed harder as a topic. But I think we did a good job overall of just saying, hey, these are problems. Here's some solutions, and seeing it. But tracking is going to be a problem. Yeah,
I mean, and it's always a challenge. And even in Triple Whale, you're going to get the non-attributed, or also in
unassigned,
not set. And that's something that I think there's always going to be, a portion of your revenue, and that's just the new reality that you're not going to know exactly where it came from. But as long as that's kept under control, you can really get insight into exactly what's generating what. And I love looking at the different attribution models, because understanding what's top of funnel and how that is impacting everything else, what's bottom of funnel, which recently it's become so much more of a conversation moving clients higher in the funnel, where I think over the last decade, maybe even a decade ago, right, moving higher in the funnel felt like it was an excuse for platforms or agencies to get advertisers to spend more. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like that's basically my way of saying I don't like how much you're spending, because you're just capturing demand. And but so you should do YouTube, or you should do prospecting, or whatever. And some people saw a lot of success with that, but a lot of advertisers didn't. And so it became kind of this punchline that that's agencies trying to get you to spend more. That's Google trying to get you to spend more. In many cases it was. And nowadays we're at the point where advertisers aren't growing as much potentially. And when you look at what their strategy is, and it's like, well, you're sitting at the bottom of the funnel. You are in demand capture land, and you are either unwilling, or you don't know how, or you're just have a fear of moving up in the funnel, jumping higher in the funnel. And, that's something that we talked a lot about at Google on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And really that was kind of the nature, is that, if you are stuck, if you're stagnant, maybe it's because of, your website or different strategies. There's a million things you can blame. But more often than not, when I have these conversations with clients and I look at, their analytics, it's because you're capturing all the demand. You got it. There's not one more penny you can spend on capturing existing demand without, significantly lowering your return.
But so many of our clients are small enough that they're not hitting that threshold.
For sure.
Like the vast majority, I would even say over 95% of our clients at LP probably need to be looking at ROAS adjustment within the demand capture platforms that they're advertising on, before they go try to create demand that they're not going to capture. Because if you're going to go fill the funnel at the top, and then you've got this leaky bucket where you're not even running that well on non-brand shopping, like you could be creating demand for your competitors because you're not effectively controlling the funnel.
That is true, and that's always a fun conversation to have. Where like, you're creating demand for your competitors, but I think you're right, and I think ROAS conversations and ROAS adjustments are really important. I still say ROAS because I've been around a while. Everyone says ROAS now.
ROAS.
I still say ROAS. Because I don't say ROE when I try to say ROI, right?
That's true.
It's ROAS. That's a conversation for another day.
Tacos.
Yeah.
I just like saying tacos.
Exactly.
And it has to do with what I do. I work in the taco world.
I like spelling out my acronyms. So I do say MER. I don't say MER, but I guess it depends. But you have that conversation. It's funny because we show a lot of our clients, the chart where a lot of people don't realize you can increase your profit by lowering your ROAS.
God, I've had this conversation.
Yeah,
I feel like I've had that for 15 straight years.
Oh yeah,
I'm sure you have.
Had to, because a lot of advertisers don't realize that. They're like, I want a 20 ROAS or whatever, and it's like, you want a 5.
Yeah,
and I can mathematically show you that. Now we have to do a little bit of testing to find out where that equilibrium is when you cross, because there will be a point where you start losing profit, right? So it's like a bell curve.
Yeah,
in a
profit
sense.
Max.
Right.
Like Google's got a setting that says that. It doesn't actually do that, I don't think, yet. But
maybe eventually it will. But yeah, right, because that's like, we've like what puts the most money in your bank account, I think is one of the core questions that we should be asking, because I've had many conversations with clients where we actually were able to map this out, and we're actually able to show them your profit is higher at a 6 ROAS.
Overall profit, like
overall in your bank account.
line,
We're not talking about but you could even argue, even isolated to, for example, the Google Ads platform, your profit's still higher at a 6 than you are at a 10 because you get so much more volume, right? So I think you can explain that by like, okay, let's say you make $6 a conversion, right? And you get 100 of them. Right? Or you make $10 a conversion and you get 20 of them, right? It's like, one of them you're making more money per conversion, but you just get fewer of them. As you lower your ROAS goal, your profit and your volume increases, and then it will hit a threshold where you say, okay, now I made 500 sales at $1 each, and so then yes, you've hit the. Well,
I still have yet to see a bank that's going to give you a loan or line of credit based on a high ROAS.
Yeah, that is also true.
You got to have profit, and it's okay. But then the more conversions you get, the more market share you have, the larger your email database. And I think typically, and I'll say typically, it's smaller, less sophisticated brands that are struggling in more difficult economic times because they're not having a big enough picture. They're too focused on one little part of an advertising platform like ROAS, where you're like, ooh, that's got to be higher because I won't make enough money. I'm like, okay, well, what's your email platform look like? Or what does your system look like there? Like, are you capturing and bringing them back? And the vast majority of them are not doing a good job there.
Well, yeah, and then the amount of high spend, high revenue, sophisticated advertisers that don't actually know their LTV is crazy. And, I think that really, anytime you start working with a company, that should be one of the first things you get the answer to. Because that is going to change your core business objectives. That is going to change what you try to do with your advertising, right? If we've had clients that are more than willing to, quote unquote, lose money on that first purchase, right? That new customer acquisition. And they're willing to, I want a 0.25 ROAS on new customer acquisition. It's like, yeah, because we know they buy 4 times a year for the next 3 years, right? We get that money back in the long run. And then you have your clients that maybe there is no LTV, and that is a reality that LTV isn't something that is worth considering. Maybe there's some, but it's so minuscule, right? Maybe you're a roofer, right?
But they've got to figure that out too.
Right, they got to know
if
that.
You're not trying to solve for increasing lifetime value of your clients, I think you have a significant problem in viability long term. Because your competitors that figure that out are going to be able to be more aggressive on that customer acquisition than you. So if you are a roofer, for example, and everybody replaces a roof in theory once every 30 years, and most people don't have a house that long, so probably difficult. You might be able to do service. How do you lay our service on that? Like, hey, maybe you need moss treatment every year, and we can do that, and we create a service arm. Or maybe we need gutter cleaning, and we layer that on as a service arm. Because we've already got the customer. They already trusted us with a massive investment. So now it's like, well, how do I get them just to spend $500 a year with me and multiply that times thousands?
Yeah, and that's very true. We had a conversation with a client not long ago. They have a low to no LTV product, but they're in a vertical where if they sold something similar, they could have a very, very high LTV. So the answer to their predicament with low to no LTV is, well, expand your product offering and add something that has LTV, that's a consumable, right? That people need to replace. And you have the customer base to do that. You have the email list to do that. Like email's 2% of the revenue or something like that, maybe 1%. What?
That's low. I mean, our email team will
it should
tell
be.
You
yeah,
they want to get at least 20 to 30% of your overall revenue from email.
Yeah, I mean, in e-com, it's not uncommon to see 20 to 30% of your revenue come from email, especially if you have a large email list and you have offerings that you can continually utilize. Like, for example, I'm a fan of knockaround sunglasses. They're great. They're high quality. They're inexpensive, and they're always coming out with something new. So,
are they a client of ours yet?
They're not a client
Why
of ours
not?
yet.
Hey, if you're listening to this knockaround, we need to talk to you.
If you're listening, give us a call. But yeah, I would love to meet them. They do great, but their email strategy is really interesting, and I'm on their SMS too. And I haven't found myself wanting to opt out, even though I already have like 4 or 5 pairs of their sunglasses. They're always introducing me to something new and cool that I like, or they have some really compelling deal all the time, and it changes, and I'm sure it's a lot of work on their end to come up with all this, but they have so many styles that I'm completely willing. Yeah, okay, if they do a buy one get one, I'm in, right? The next time I get a buy one get one email from them, I'm going to buy. And I don't even need any more sunglasses. I have too many sunglasses. My wife tells me this all the time. Like, why do you need all these? I'm like, honestly,
they always fit.
They always fit. I can always find. I lose sunglasses a lot, and it's like, I need to have a wide variety. Maybe I want some sunglasses for the boat, right?
Yeah, gotta have one on the golf cart, one on the boat, one on your travel bag. I mean, come on,
a little
you're
more
a big
formal,
deal.
right? Yeah, you gotta tailor your sunglass, wardrobe to what you're doing. But they have absolutely dominated. I don't even know what their statistics are. I would love to find out, but I would imagine that their LTV is insane. And they're probably sitting there like, we need to get more new customers because we have so many returning customers. It's like, well, the reason you have so many returning customers is your LTV is
you're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But that also allows you to withstand economic ups and downs very easily when you have an engaged user base.
Yeah.
That you're not completely reliant on the market out there of driving new customers.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be ebbs and flows in that. Like, you're going to have certain brands, Luxottica owns 90% of the global eyeglass.
I don't think they own knockaround.
Yeah. But I mean, they can come in and push people around. So if they're going to come in and push 5 of their brands onto your terms, great. You can survive for a little while they go waste money on your lifetime value. And I thought one of our panels yesterday, Aman brought up a really interesting point that I think most e-com brands are not willing or able to do, is he fires customers. And a lot of the brands I talk to, that would be something like, no, we can't fire a customer. Like, well, because the analysis isn't easy. No. Just like the analysis of lifetime value, I always want a client to know their lifetime value. But even me being in e-commerce as deep as I am, having my own brands, it's like, that's not an easy number to come up with. Like, I can guess, and I can probably have a pretty good guess on my own stuff. Mm-hmm. But unless you've got the full database and you've done some deep analysis, because I don't think Shopify's internal database will allow you to do a really clear lifetime value. I think Klaviyo's got some pretty good stuff in their database and CRM if you've done that. But even then, I think it's like, here's some data points that this subset has bought a lot, but I don't think Klaviyo brings returns into that. Mm-hmm. And so tying all that together, you do have to have some type of third-party system. Like, I think Aman used Triple Whale.
Yeah, Triple Whale does give you a pretty good analysis of LTV.
Yeah, and so we talked about like tracking from losing UTM parameters, and GA4 is not that great in certain areas. Mm-hmm. But even just getting a tracking system that pulls your returns in, so you can see.
Oh yeah, I loved what he said about how he has such a lower goal, like from a return standpoint, on final sale items.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I already know that I'm baking in an extra 30% margin on my final sale because I'm not going to get, those aren't going to be returned because they can't be. It's final sale.
Yeah.
It's like it's yours. And that, I think, is something that is so overlooked. And I think a lot of the reason returns, and the returns we're referring to isn't ROI returns, but returns like product returns, people sending the product back, it's been so overlooked because the majority of e-com, when they use universal analytics, when it was the dominant analytics platform, they were not piping in their returns.
No.
You could. It allowed you to do so. No one was taking the time to do that, right? Where I'm going to, import this
get a flat file
where we take all the transactions and then all of a sudden, when analytics became less relied on, some people even moved to just looking at Shopify backend, right? And Shopify backend is a horrible analytics platform, but it does straight up tell you right there on the homepage how many returns
dollars
you have.
and cents. Here's your merchant processor, and here's how many came back.
Here's your total revenue. Here's how many returns you have. Here's how much you spent on shipping, taxes, yada yada yada. But all of a sudden, the reality of how many returns there are in the industry, especially apparel, that became very, very advertisers became very cognizant of that. And then you start looking at, well, how many returns versus exchanges, right? What's that, right? And if that's something that you don't know, that's something you need to find out. Like how many out of all the people that are sending the product back, how many of them are sending it back and buying somewhere else or just not buying at all versus how many are sending it back and exchanging it maybe for a different size or a different style. And I think that's something that if you, especially apparel, but really any e-com needs to know, is like you need to know that number too, because an exchange is much less detrimental than a return. Yep. Especially if you can set it up where they're paying for the shipping on it, which a lot of advertisers have done.
Yeah, I think there is a massive shift that's coming in that space. And I think, Loop Returns is a partner of ours. They've done a good job in helping brands think through that. But I think balancing and even looking at, how do we reward people and give them free returns when we know they're a good customer and they're not always buying 6 to return 5.
Totally.
But I think you have to balance that with like a new customer. Like if I've never bought something from you before and you tell me how it fits, but I might not be perfect in my measurements or whatever, I might need to buy 2 or 3 the first time.
Yeah.
And so as fashion brand, maybe you build that in. Hey, first-time customers, this is what you're getting, and I'm going to give first-time customers, based on your email and address and all that, I'm going to give you the ability to buy 3 of the same unit and test them, and send it kind of the Warby Parker model.
Warby Parker, where they send you 5 lenses. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you've already bought from me before and I can see that history, I'm not going to let you do that every single time. That's a waste of my money and resources. Right. I'm going to give you free returns. Like if you want to do it and give me and pay for returns because you're that dedicated, awesome.
Yeah, go for it. Amazon, like my wife buys so many clothes off Amazon, and she probably keeps 1 out of 10.
Oh yeah, my wife is the same.
And I'm like, I know that we're Prime members, we pay a subscription, but I don't know how they do it.
I'm thankful for the other people that don't do that, so that we can.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's
so that Amazon's margins work.
I would imagine at some point in the future, I know there's been talks of this where that goes away. That has to go away at some point.
Right? I agree. Like because especially with as many of the brands that are selling direct there, like. It's not like it all of a sudden changes on Amazon versus your website. So Aman, I'm not sure if he's even on Amazon yet. He probably will be sooner if he hasn't been. But it's not like the buyer is going to not return on Amazon and they are going to return here. So it's
yeah. Well, and he said something interesting too about moving up in your customer base where. I think it's important to, if you're running into costs, like adding the free shipping threshold, right? Where it's like, figure out where that is. And if you offer free shipping for everything, you're probably doing yourself a disservice. And you can add that threshold. That threshold may come with you're not going to get certain customers, right? Where maybe it says, okay, I'm going to put my free shipping threshold at $75 or $100. Maybe your customers that are only spending $30, you lose them, right? But you need to do the research on what else do those customers do. Okay, well, it actually turns out that my customers that want free shipping under $75 also have a very high return rate, meaning they have a high propensity to return the product. And the customers that don't care at all about the free shipping threshold, either they're willing to pay for shipping or they spend enough to get free shipping and it doesn't matter to them, they might have a much lower propensity to send the product back. And that's data that you have to look at, but it's not that hard to pull from Shopify or Triple and you can make that analysis. Well, how often, what's my average price point of a returned item, right? Figure that out. And if it is lower price points, lower AOV, then you have even more reason to add that free shipping threshold. Not only are you saving money on shipping, but you might be weeding out some customers that are more problematic than you realize.
I think though, not many because most companies that I talk to that are looking at free shipping thresholds are simply looking at AOV.
100%.
I mean, it's so like, hey, my average order value is $68. We're going to put free shipping at $75 to drive it. Well, if the only products you have to buy are $50, that may not move the needle correctly.
Right.
But you need to look at lifetime value of first orders. Like, okay, if the first order that somebody does, the average AOV is $40, but those are the people that are turning into very valuable lifetime customers. It's like the gateway drug to your brand is this $40 product that then opens the door to like 90% of them spend $1,000 a year with you. Well, if you cut those off, like you're shooting your foot to like, it's just terrible. So you have to make smart decisions, and sometimes it's just start and pivot as you see data. It can't be a set it, forget it. Like, I'm going to make my shipping threshold $50 because David said so on stage.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, exactly.
David doesn't know your brand yet. Let's get a little deeper than that.
It's $50 for everyone. Just like a 5 ROAS is perfect for everyone. Well, that also, it's funny. I don't know if anyone's tried this, but there's probably some brand out there that should look into when you make a purchase, your first purchase, you pay for shipping on, but it makes you an automatic member, right? And then any future purchase, you get free shipping. And then you can say like, hey, once I can see that you're, a committed customer and you didn't return the product, then in the future you get free shipping. That first one, we're going to make you pay for shipping. But if you come back, that would increase LTV. Save a little bit on the first shipping, and you'd get some loyal customers. So
it's probably working your loyalty program, right?
Yeah.
Like finding, because everybody, I feel like 3-4 years ago it was all loyalty. Like loyalty. You got to get loyalty. You got to give people points because all they want is points. And like, well, I don't actually want points. Like I don't care. Like what I want to a degree, I want to feel valued by the brand.
Right.
Like if I'm going to invest in a brand and be a part of your ecosystem and be a fan, I want to experience more than just a transaction.
Yeah.
And like a shipping email. Hey, here's your shipping confirmation. Right. Yeah, got it. I'm like, okay, that's not building a brand for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What was your favorite talk yesterday?
Well, I mean, that's a good question.
I mean, it was probably my intros.
It was you, yeah.
I know. Okay, after me though.
No, then it was me. No.
Okay, so your third favorite.
No, I mean, there was a lot of really good ones. I loved what Commerce had to say. Not only was he really funny, he had everyone roast themselves on their own phones on ChatGPT. That was
painful for a lot of people.
But him just discussing the role that AI is going to be playing in the future. And I think everyone knows that to some extent, but I think that there's a large gap between, what is possible and then application that makes it possible.
Yeah.
And so when I hear vendors or partners talk about how they're actually doing it, I get really excited because, there's so much that is going to be automated in a really beneficial way with AI, where AI is going to eventually get to the point where it can categorize your products better than a human can, right? Just based on data. Or it can
a picture.
Yeah, or a picture, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, the other day we were at Google, and one of the speakers from Google, so he got up on stage, and he was asking around. He's like, okay, what are your businesses? He's like, what's your business? And he talks to Foam Order, and it's Max, and he's like, we sell like replacement cushions for furniture. And he's like, okay, so imagine this. You're going to make an ad in a giant city like San Francisco, and you are going to have that be a giant pillow fight with the entire city, right? Everyone's pillow fighting and whatnot. And he's like, that would be hundreds of thousands of dollars to coordinate and get that done. He's like, now that reality can become done in about 2 to 3 minutes. And then he moved on, and I sat there and I whipped out my laptop, signed into VO3, and I was like, I'm going to make this. And so he got like 2 minutes further into his talk, and I had that video that he made up on the spot as an advertisement done. And I handed my laptop over to Max. I was like, dude, check this out. He was like, oh, that is too funny. And it was a good video. So AI, I think, tying this back to what Commerce is doing, but I do think that, there's been 2 to 3 years of AI talk. And we're really starting to see the AI walk now. And I think a lot of it might have been overhyped early on, and a lot of people were saying they were going to use AI, but were they really using UI? And now I think that it's become so much more accessible and beneficial to people where they can actually just sign in and do it. That we're gonna start seeing it being utilized more and more and more, and it's gonna be a snowball. It's gonna be a hockey stick. The amount of use that AI has is only going to continue to go up as it starts solving legitimate daily problems that people have.
Yeah, I think AI, if you're not like saying your company's using it, you're supposedly falling behind. Like, oh, you didn't put AI on your earnings call, or you don't have a .ai URL. What's wrong with you? Right. And what I've been missing or lacking in AI is like, I conceptually know that AI is not going to get worse at what it's doing. Mm-hmm. Like we can see it creating some ads, and yeah, people have 6 fingers or whatever, and it's pretty obvious when somebody. What I really don't like about AI is people using it on LinkedIn for comments.
Oh,
it's like
100%.
I was sitting here reading your article, and I was just thrown back to when I was 3 years old, and I'm like, dude, stop using AI. It's worthless.
I think I actually made a LinkedIn post about this, but like the clearly AI imagery on LinkedIn and really all over the place. When I see an ad or even an image that is so obviously AI, I'm automatically turned off.
Oh, it is. Like I do less LinkedIn now because people trying to be LinkedIn influencers are using so much AI that I'm like, I don't find value in that. Like,
yeah. And so, and like, I'm not even saying don't use AI, but if you're going to use it, make it good enough to where that's not the first thing that people think about when they see it. Like, because if it is, then you're doing it wrong. And I've even seen some pretty good videos posted by friends of mine and things that they've done for their own companies, and I see it and I'm like, that's good, but was so extravagant. I know you didn't do it. Even like the video that I made of the citywide pillow fight that turned out to be awesome. If anyone saw that, they would know it's AI.
It wasn't a live shoot, but
because exactly, they'd be like, okay, this company didn't have that budget to get 3,000 extras and rent out the city for a day to film that, right? But it'd be interesting to run an ad like that or to run that video and then take a survey of average human beings, like what do you think this was, AI or not? Now, if you ask that, people are automatically going to assume it was AI.
Because you're asking. It's a leading question. In court, you'd be in trouble.
If my parents saw that video, would they be like, oh, that's AI? I'm like, no, they wouldn't know.
They'd be like, but would they say, I need to buy a cushion from that guy?
Yeah,
I don't know. Well, it would build brand awareness potentially, so later on.
And it could. I don't know if it was even the best commercial for that company based on what they do, but it was so weird to think of, like, okay, this random idea, this random thought that existed, within minutes now it's a reality.
Yeah.
And that part is
awesome. in this world of AI, and we're in digital marketing and a company that is largely remote, so we don't do a lot of face-to-face, so it's always Zoom. I love the fact that we were able to bring a bunch of people IRL. Like, I saw people face-to-face. I was able to have a beer and conversations with them and strategize and talk about their business, which yes, can happen over Zoom, but there's just something different about people that are willing and able to be in person and the collaboration that happens around that. And so specifically Matt Dornfeld being not only entertaining, but very, very smart in the application to AI, not only for brands, like, hey, we're going to take AI and here's what we're actually doing with the Feedonomics part of our company now and very soon in the future, and what we're building, because we can see where this is going and how it's going to be plugging into Perplexity, and they've got that deal going, and soon ChatGPT and Copilot with some of these Microsoft ads we saw. It's exciting, but I've actually already scheduled time with Matt next week when I'm in Austin to go face to face, be like, all right, how are you actually applying AI to your life and making yourself more efficient in what your day-to-day looks like? And because he's been doing this for a while, and I'm like, okay, somebody can actually give me the step 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Like, here's what you use ChatGPT for. Here's what you use Perplexity for. Here's how I, scale myself through AI to be more efficient and give myself more time. That's what I really want AI to do. Like, I want to help our clients and I want to be able to help businesses grow with it. But if I can scale my time with it, hopefully.
Well, I think that's going to be one of the main benefits of AI, right? And maybe it will eventually get really scary and they'll take over the world and we'll all be, in the Matrix. But
Terminator,
right? Yeah,
I mean, Skynet.
Right now, it's. I don't think, and maybe I'm understating it, but it's not that different of, like, there's been a number of inventions or discoveries throughout history that have dramatically made things more efficient. right? You can start out with Johannes Gutenberg and the printing press. Before that, it was scribes, right? Writing books by hand, writing everything by hand, writing letters by hand. Everything was by hand. And then all of a sudden the printing press came out and it's like, oh, we can go ahead and do this at scale.
Do this one time and then
right. Yeah, a lot of scribes might have lost their job, I would imagine. But that's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, way more people had access to literature. Way more people had access, and it pushed society forward. Same thing. I mean, you can move forward. You can say the same thing to like the car and the horse, right? A lot of horse breeders probably went out of business when people started driving cars. Same thing that happened with Excel and QuickBooks. Bookkeepers probably had to pivot in their careers from manually keeping things, and all of a sudden Excel shows up and it's like, whoa, we can track all this immediately, write all these formulas where we were doing this by hand prior, right? And that, I think, is going to be, in the early stages at least, a lot of what AI is we're going to get more efficient, or we can spend our time doing things that move the needle more because we have AI doing the things that were less,
the more mundane, I guess. Because I think every job or role goes through this, I guess, evolution where you get, more thought thinkers, leadership there, and then there's some mundane tasks that evolve that used to be done by everybody that was smart had to do that. Not everybody smart, but you had people that was the role. And like, hey, the people that are breaking into this industry, like in digital marketing, you and Micah, like throwing Excel sheets together and like being super smart and like how we're looking at data. That's become like, hey, now entry level people starting out, that's what you're doing is you're looking at these Excel sheets, putting these together. And so it's allowing brains to keep evolving here, and so that's how you're breaking.
Underrated AI tip: you have a very complex formula in Excel that you need. Just tell ChatGPT what you want it to do, and it'll just give you the formula and you can paste it in. There's even plugins for Excel. And I don't know if they have one automatically in there, but there's plugins for Excel where you can just type in the cell instead of putting the formula. You just tell it what you want it to do instead. And it's great.
The number of Slack messages, team messages, and emails from Garo to David and Micah on Excel has gone to 0.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like you can see like the advent of ChatGPT was like emails from Garo trending up and then fell off a cliff.
Yeah, I don't have to tell Garo anymore how to change something to a date.
Yeah.
It's great.
And it's like, why are the dates not showing up right, David?
It's always a date.
How do I pivot?
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good talk. I do have meetings that I have to get to.
Ditto. I have to go prepare a pickleball court.
Yeah. It's going to rain.
No, it's not.
Okay.
The weather is holding
and you
up
don't have a canopy over the pickleball court?
It's retractable.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I think that's probably going to be your next purchase. Just putting a giant roof over.
We're going to need another 1,000 Amans to come on board.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
Thanks, David.
Yeah, thank you.